Okay, let's talk a little bit about food tracking. So, I recommend doing food tracking periodically throughout your health journey so that you can have that self-awareness of how much food are you really consuming, how much protein, fat, carbs, and fiber. Those are really the main things we're going to focus on. However, there are also some trackers that will show vitamins and minerals, but sometimes we still need to add those in to our diet through supplements. Tracking can also be a really great form of accountability when you are seeking weight loss or gaining muscle. And understanding calories for in versus calories out is one really important aspect to that piece. So a few of my favorite tools for tracking are MyFitnessPal, which has a free and a paid version. Chronometer also has a free version. And then the fitness app is the one that I use with my clients. So that one is something you would have to use with me or another trainer. But you can see here, this is one of the calendars that one of my clients would have to kind of show um, if she got her workouts in and her tracking in. So just kind of really satisfying for me to see all of those things throughout the month and be able to really show you guys the data of, okay, here's what you are doing and here's how your body is responding. When we don't have the tracking data, it can be hard for a dietitian to track and see, like, okay, why are you not losing weight? You can say, oh, I feel like I'm eating clean, but until you actually have the data, it can be pretty hard to tell what you're actually consuming. So the first option, and again, I think that you should try out both options, option one and option two, is more strict tracking. So this is where you are actually doing some weighing, some measuring, and you are inputting every single ingredient that you eat throughout the day. With a lot of the tracking apps, you can actually input recipes. So for example, if you make the same sandwich every day for lunch, you can input that, you can save it, and then you can just repeat it. But I think that understanding about how much protein specifically, I think starting with protein is the best one to start with. We talk a lot about that for weight loss because it is so important for maintaining that muscle. Measuring out some meats and just seeing, okay, this is about how much my 30 grams is, and then you kind of just can eyeball it from there. Same with starches like rice, pasta, potatoes. For me, doing like in a cup and putting that into the app is easy, but you can also do ounces and grams. That really does not matter. So of course, some of the benefits of this is that you have more exact amounts, but it is going to be a little bit more time consuming. Then a more flexible style of tracking is just looking for patterns. So doing something like just inputting, okay, for lunch I had an omelet, or for breakfast I had an omelet, lunch I had a sandwich, dinner I had a salad, but you don't put any actual like ingredients. But for you, then at the end of the week, you could look back and say, okay, I actually ended up eating the things that are in my group of, balanced macronutrient meals that I learned. Hopefully you can learn some recipes. You put them in to an app, eat them a few times, kind of get a feel for how they feel in your body, how nourishing they feel, and then remember those. And then eventually you do this flexible tracking. Okay, I had what I was planning, and I have that accountability. So then you can catch things like skipping a lot of meals, overeating sugars, dining out frequently, things like that. So that is where I will sometimes have my clients do just a note in their phone, write it on paper, write it in the app, or take photos. The app that I use allows them to just upload quick photos. So that can be a lot quicker and I can still see what they are consuming. You just might miss a little bit of the actual accuracy with calories. But I talk a lot about the importance of the macronutrients and how when we have really good quality whole foods, we don't have to worry quite as much about the calories. Our bodies tend to respond really well to that. So, um, when you are getting started, though, with tracking, it's important to know what the BMR is, the basal metabolic rate. So that is the amount of calories your body needs if you are just laying in bed all day, okay? Your body still needs nourishment. It still needs those calories for recovery of tissues, for thinking, breathing, digestive processes, okay? Even if you are not moving or eating all day, you still need calories. So you can go to that website to calculate out your basal metabolic rate. But if you are somebody who has excess body fat, you want to use what's called the adjusted body weight. So it will adjust that number for body fat. Okay. And then from there, you can input what your total exercise is over the week on that same Omni Calculator website, and it will give you your total daily energy expenditure. And this is a number that I definitely want you to look at. So between your total daily energy expenditure, how much your body needs with movement, and your basal metabolic rate, how much your body just needs to exist, we want to find that calorie deficit in there, okay? We don't want to go too far below the basal metabolic rate for too long. This can actually be harmful and cause more muscle loss, a lower metabolic rate, okay? Where you're bound to lose some weight, some muscle mass on a weight loss journey. That is normal, no matter what approach you are taking. But we want to do that at a slow and steady rate. And so I would recommend first just kind of determining what is your baseline, your average calories. For some people, that's going to be fairly inconsistent. For some people, it might be already in a calorie deficit. And then we need to look at, okay, how can we increase your metabolic rate through exercise, through changing up the composition of your diet, eating less processed foods. But for some people who might be in a calorie excess, they're eating too many calories, we want to determine that and then lower calories by about 300 to 500 calories per week with a focus on balanced, consistent, real foods, minimally processed foods. If you're going to use things like protein bars, protein supplements, totally fine. I personally recommend trying to keep that most days to just once a day. So then you're also focusing mostly on real food. So once you get into that slight calorie deficit, you're eating really consistent meals and you're moving your body. Then you track your body composition. You see how it's responding. If you are not seeing weight loss over a few months, then you do want to maybe go a little bit lower and a little bit lower. But there can also be other things, other underlying conditions that we might need to address. So I do not like having people be under their metabolic rate, the BMR, for too long or really at all. You can really see a lot of improvements in your health without doing that. So these are some of the risks associated with going below the BMR for too long. And so instead, I like to recommend 70% of your calories from protein and fat, staying a little bit below that total energy expenditure when you include your exercise. The exercise is really, really important so that you're building muscle mass, which will increase your metabolic rate in the long run, how many calories you are needing to sustain your body. It just makes it so much easier to be in that calorie deficit when we have enough muscle mass. So let me know what questions you have on tracking and determining your calorie needs.